Welcome to r/PettyRevenge, where we share stories of small victories over those who have wronged you. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today's first story is, The Ride Isn't Designed for Someone Your Size. Hello all, this happened a few years ago when I worked at our local amusement park. At this amusement park, we only had one roller coaster. It was by far one of our most busy rides. I typically worked at the go-karts. It was the best, but one morning I was told to go to the roller coaster. Dang, and this is where the story begins. EM equals entitled mom. EK equals entitled kid. Me equals take a guess. SS equals shift supervisor, who's a good friend of mine. Everything is going well, not too busy. After a ride was completed, the kids all jumped off and ran through the exit. While I'm closing the exit gate, I notice EK is jumping over and under the line dividers and skipping the line. I open the entrance gate and start filling the ride. EK was one of the last kids who was going to get on, and I felt like this wasn't fair to other customers. So the exchange goes like this. Me: Hey bud, I'm sorry, but I saw you jump the line earlier. These people behind have been waiting longer, and you'll have to go behind the line. EK: I didn't jump the line. Me: I'm sorry, but I did see you jump the line while I was closing the exit gate earlier. Then a few other clients started to make comments about him jumping the line. This is when EM jumps in. She was hanging out at the line entrance with the other non-riding parents. EM: What's going on? Why is my son not getting on the ride? Me: I'm sorry for this inconvenience, ma'am, but when I was closing the exit gate earlier, I saw your son jumping our line fences and skipping the line ahead of other waiting customers. I'm just asking him to go to the back of the line, since other customers have been waiting. EK: I didn't skip anybody. EM: See? He hasn't skipped anyone, so let him on. Customers shouting comments about her son's a liar and to move. Me: I'm sorry, but I know what I saw, and I have to be fair to other customers. EM: Are you saying my son is lying? I want to talk to your manager. Me: Okay. I radio in my bud, the shift supervisor, and explain to him what's going on. He shows up. She basically says to him that I called her son a liar, and I'm refusing to let him on for no good reason, and I should be punished for being so rude. They start arguing, but eventually another adult waiting in line says, Let him on. We all know he skipped the line, but let's move on. The other customers seem to agree with this. This is what happens after. EM: You know what? Because of this, I want to go on the ride with my son. Everybody just rolled their eyes. SS: Just let her in. Me: All right. I turn around and open the gate. EM with a smug look on her face. Where should we go? Me: You're one of the last groups to get on, so only the last carts are still free. EM: Good. Just an FYI, please don't call my son a liar ever again, or I'll get you fired. I decided to ignore and let her go on the ride, and since I already had my plan already figured out. The entrance and exit is located at the front of the roller coaster, so to get to the back ones, they had to walk by all the customers they skipped. Before we start the roller coaster, we have to complete a few safety checks, basically making sure they're buckled properly and the safety bar is pushed in and engaged. The thing with the safety bars is that you have to push them in far enough to engage a limit switch. If all the limit switches aren't closed, we can't start the roller coaster. The thing is, EM had a larger than average circumference, and I already knew that she was too large for the limit switch to close. Typically, if we had a larger customer come in, we used a tool to bypass the limit switch and start the ride. But oops. This is where my petty revenge comes in. Me: Excuse me, ma'am. I need to push in your roll bar further in, or I can't start the ride due to safety reasons. EM: What? This is ridiculous. Okay, go ahead. I start pushing on the safety bars. We hear a couple of clicks. You can see she's being crushed. I check our panel. No luck. Everyone is staring at her and she's fire truck red. EM: What's going on? Me: Sorry, man, but you're gonna have to suck in your stomach if you want to ride the roller coaster. Other customers are loving this, and she's getting really embarrassed. EM: Try again. Me: Okay. Walk back to our console. Nope, no luck. Still says the bar isn't engaged. EM: So what are you going to do about it? Me: I'm sorry, ma'am, but unfortunately this ride isn't designed for someone your size. I'm gonna have to ask you to get off the ride. EM: You have to be effing kidding me. Are you saying I'm fat? Me: Oh no, ma'am. I'm just saying you're too large for this specific ride. At this point, she storms out, peeved off as heck, walking by all the customers she skipped. She's mumbling and swearing out of embarrassment. It was so sweet to watch. I put another kid on the ride with her kid, and I start the ride no problem. EK and EM might have delayed the ride by a good 15 minutes, but I feel like everyone agreed it was worth it. She made a scene with SS again, but he agreed with me and told her there's nothing we can do. The second story is making my coworker drive herself to the brink of a mental breakdown. The prequel. I've been working at the same pool for almost 4 years now. I like most of the staff there, and things flow really well, as long as everyone does the bare minimum amount of effort. There's only one girl who's been on the brink of being fired several times for not doing even the minimum, but we can't because lifeguards run in short supply out here. Just imagine your typical Tumblrina SJW self-entitled Snorlax. Yeah, from now on I'll refer to her as Snorlax because I'm that petty. To give you a better idea about her, I started a few years after her, but outranked Snorlax within a year. I'm her supervisor. When we close for the evening, there are certain jobs that you do, but some require a key, like locking up the money or resetting the chlorine in the basement. I have this key. She does not, and probably never will. But I digress. Before we put the covers on the pool for the night, I go to change the radio station from the pop Katy Perry Nicki Minaj station to some hard and classic rock because all the swimmers are gone. After putting the first of 7 tarps on the pools, she goes to the PA system and changes it back to the pop station. I guess this girl has never seen Rush Hour and just doesn't know never to touch a black man's radio. Her reasoning is that her coworkers listen to the rock station all morning at her other job. She's since been fired for being too slow on the assembly line and doesn't want to hear it anymore. I've been listening to this pop stuff for almost 6 hours, so she can bite the bullet. I turn off the radio and connect my phone via Bluetooth to the stereo system and tell her to stay on deck and finish rolling up tarps with me. By myself, I can pull the covers off and on in about 20 minutes. She cops an attitude, starts pouting about music hurting her ears. And this whole process takes almost a full 30 minutes. She has no upper body strength anyway, so I'm basically pulling them while she guides. But I digress. The petty. I go to put the cash away from the register and lock up. She starts to head to her car, and I tell her she needs to test the chlorine levels, but she has the audacity to tell me that's your job. Be what? I explain to her that I do everything she does, plus the supervision duties and being responsible for her. She's had an open 40-minute window to test chemicals, but decided to be on her phone. Fine, but your job still needs to get done. She does the chemicals and tells me I have to go reset the chlorine. I can tell by looking at the water's murkiness that the chlorine is fine, and guess the test is going to come back around 2.6. But she says I need to stay to make sure. Anything below a 2.0 needs more chlorine added downstairs with that magical key. Does the test, bam, 2.5. I told her it would be good, but some people just have to see for themselves. But I digress. The revenge. The next day, Snorlax is on call, which means she gets to sit on her A at home and come in if we need her. From 1 to 25 swimmers, we need 1 guard. From 26 to 40 swimmers, we need 2 guards. 41 to 60, 3 guards, etc. Around our busiest time, the pool is at 35 swimmers, but more people are probably going to come, so I call Snorlax and tell her to come in. It takes her about 15 minutes, which is too slow for someone who's on call, and she should have been written up for it. She guards for maybe half an hour before things die back down to us only needing 1 guard on deck, so I send her home. Little did she know there was a birthday party with a bunch of kids scheduled to come in half an hour later. I guess I forgot to tell her. I call her again and let her know about the party, and she's already home. Bwah ha ha. She comes back and the kids are almost ready to swim. Technically, we could have gotten by without her, but better safe than sorry, right? We need her for maybe 45 minutes before the kids go to eat pizza and cake. Eventually, she leaves without telling me, but I see her car pull away. How rude. The father of the birthday girl comes up and asks me if it would be okay for them to get back in after eating, and I tell him that's an old wives' tale and to swim as long as they want. Uh-oh, looks like we might need another guard. I call Snorlax and she's pretty upset by this point, but I tell her it's her job, and she's back in less than 5 minutes. At this time, there are only the birthday party kids and some old ladies doing water aerobics, so we only really need 1 guard. Seconds after she scans her time card to clock in, I tell her to clock out, because we don't need her anymore, and she needs to head home one last time. Don't try to pull rank on me, and never touch a black man's radio. The third story is, take away a day of my honeymoon, I'll make you buy everyone breakfast. I got married a couple of years ago, and we booked a 5-night stay at a great resort in Jamaica for our honeymoon. We flew out of St. Louis the day after the wedding, changed planes in Atlanta, and then on to Jamaica, or at least that was what was supposed to happen. The beginning. For some reason, Delta Airlines was entirely unable to figure out how to get an airplane from St. Louis to Atlanta. There were 3 or 4 flights that afternoon, and every single one of them was delayed, all for mechanical reasons. By the time we got to Atlanta, the last flight to Jamaica for the day had already left, so we had to spend the first night of our honeymoon in a Best Western instead of the all-inclusive resort I had shelled out for. The complaint. Since we're on our honeymoon, we decided that we'd like to sit down and have an actual meal in the airport instead of just grabbing a sandwich, so we went to the only actual sit-down restaurant in the unsecured area of the airport. It was one of those TGI Fridays and Applebee's knockoffs. We get a table, and then I actually take a good look at the meal vouchers the airline gave us. 2 vouchers, each worth $6, for a total of $12 for the 2 of us. The cheapest thing on the menu at the restaurant was $10. So I was mad. Instead of being on a tropical beach with my new bride, I was stuck in the airport in Atlanta, and the airline wouldn't even buy us a decent meal. So I went back to the ticket counter to complain. I wasn't rude, I wasn't obnoxious, but I was forceful. I told the attendant that the vouchers weren't even worth enough to buy a plate of nachos, and asked him what they could do about it. The attendant looked sympathetic, and told me he would go talk to his supervisor and see what he could do. Victory 1. So I waited. He was gone for almost 15 minutes. I was starting to think that he had either forgotten about me or was avoiding dealing with me when he came back with something in his hand. First, he gave me 2 travel vouchers worth $100 each for future Delta flights. Then he handed me a whole stack of meal vouchers, 25 of them, each worth $6. I thanked the man profusely for his help and returned to the restaurant feeling victorious. Victory 2. Meanwhile, my wife had been chatting with the waiter in the restaurant and told him about the delay in our travels and how disappointed she was. She had never left the US before, so flying to Jamaica was a pretty big deal, even without the honeymoon. I returned, we ordered and ate, and then gave the vouchers to the waiter to settle the check. When he returned, he told us that in addition to the food, he had gone ahead and put our drinks on the vouchers as well, which he wasn't really supposed to do. So the entire meal plus drinks was free. I gave him a really good tip. Cash, of course, not vouchers. The revenge. So at some point I started reading the vouchers carefully. I'm not a lawyer, but I am pretty good at understanding legalese, and I made 2 discoveries. First, the vouchers expired in 3 days, so if we didn't use them before we took off in the morning, we wouldn't be able to use them at all. Second, nowhere on the vouchers did it say non-transferable. When we got to the airport in the morning, we got ourselves some coffee and muffins. After we ate, we still had 10 or 12 of the vouchers left, so I started handing them out. I'd go up to people, ask them if they'd had anything to eat yet today, and if they said no, I handed them a voucher and told them to go buy breakfast. Delta's paying. If they had kids, I gave them too. I kept at it until I was out of vouchers. Postscript. On the way back to the US from Jamaica, I attempted to use the travel vouchers to upgrade us to first class. The woman at the counter had to call the airline office in order to redeem the vouchers, but she was unable to get through to them. She upgraded us anyway, because we had attempted to pay for it, and let us keep the vouchers. If you want more stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Have a good one.